Hello and welcome to our Lightweight podcast. This is a wonderful space I've created to connect with beautiful people as my guest here, Anna, with the intention to really bring more light into the world, more wisdom, and actually just have more resonance with people that are on a journey of self-discovery and awakening. So I'm so grateful to be sitting here today with Anna. Anna, I found through social media, and it's really impressive to see your journey, Anna, and everything that you have achieved and your life path. I'll just give a little intro and then we can touch on that. I mean, you've been over 15 years in India on a journey of, I would say, self-discovery, but you have an extensive resume of certifications with the beautiful, so many angles of yoga, hatha yoga, ashtanga yoga. You're also in Ayurvedic nutritionist. I mean, it's really, really empowering and amazing to see that inside of you, there's so much wisdom and also your time in India. And so I thought we could talk a little bit about your journey and then how you got to this point where you are now creating this amazing programs helping healers and space holders like myself and I think a lot of this community in finding their voice and their gifts and sharing your wisdom on how to energetically put that out there. So thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, Jessica. I'm really excited for this conversation. I'm so happy you invited me.
Yeah, this is so cool because she's actually in Vienna and I'm in Austria and I didn't know that. So I love when things are kind of like aligned. It's like without knowing we're here. But your journey began a long time ago. I want to talk a little bit about the call to go to India and what was the driving force behind this big decision.
Yeah, some might say it was coincidence, but I would say not. I
Okay.
was 18 really when I went to India the first time. It was right after school, and I just had this big calling. I was working as a waitress in an Indian restaurant for the past 2 years already,
Okay.
besides school. And the chefs always invited me over, and I was like, oh, yeah, 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 I'd like to go sometime. So I actually booked a ticket, like working really hard, booked a ticket for me and my boyfriend at the time. 2 weeks prior, we broke up. He broke up with me. I was like devastated. I didn't go. But then the year after, my mom got invited to India. And she was like, not for me, but my daughter really wants to go. So she sent me, more or less. And that was the place where I've spent the next 12 years, coming every year, spending many months there in the south of India, in Kerala. And through that, through being there, I discovered yoga, I discovered Ayurveda, and I went on this healing journey for myself, which I had no idea about. But I just felt something was happening with me, and something changed. And then I kept living this double life between going back to Vienna, going to India again, being two different kind of persons,
Mhm.
really. And it was always my wish to have this somehow fuse together and make people understand in the West what all of this is about and how much it can do for you. And so yes, so this is how my path developed. On the way, I collected, I would say now it's 25 certificates in healing.
Wow.
I have done many Vipassana retreats. I've been living in ashrams. I've done all the things with all the gurus that you can imagine.
Oh God, that's amazing. Amazing. And I mean, what is your overall take as who you are as a person through this experience? Like what is seeing now the West or when you return, what is the wisdom or what is the main philosophy that you could say that you carry now in the way you handle yourself in life?
I would definitely say that I've been raised by Vedanta philosophy, so the yogic kind of way. But I've picked up everything. I've been living in Bali for years. I've been traveling around to really dive into different kinds of religious traditions, and it all influenced me. And in the end, I can see how very early on I felt like I was someone who would connect worlds. And I still feel like that, yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. And the energy behind yoga work, because I've been practicing for over 20 years, and just not even deep into the theory and the history, but more from the effects that I feel of my personal awakening body wise, like opening up these centers, connecting and getting downloads. Like for me, it has been that. And in your experience with these masters, I would say, is for them the main entryway through movement and then through the philosophy, or is it the other way around? Like, how could you explain a little bit about the journey actually working with real ashrams?
Yeah, I would say at best it's both. What
Okay.
we know now in the Western world, which is a great development, is that people, as yoga has been going big and people
Mhm.
have come to these classes and stuff, they have found their entry point through the movement.
Right.
Most of, no, most of them, most of us.
Yeah.
But really, of course, it's in India, it's a part of the philosophy of the religion, of whatever has been, yeah, what people are doing on a daily basis and how they pray in temples and so on.
Hmm.
But also, the movement part is not so developed there.
Right.
So, the regular Indian person does not do their yoga in the morning. And it's something that was really rather for the higher castes or rishis, the wisdom carriers, that they would practice that. And then, all of that aside, the highest practice would be meditation anyway.
Wow. Okay. And because I love to talk about energy work in terms of identifying blocks within ourselves and within,
Mm.
and yoga obviously is a big activator of releasing these energy blockages, right? Do they also have this perspective? Okay, there's trauma there that let's release it through movement, or is that more of like a Western kind of perspective to really to see it this way? Like, okay, I have trauma there.
Yeah, I wouldn't say they call it trauma. But for sure, for example, I was sitting at I had a pranayama teacher for many years, and I would still say he's the person I learned the most from, even though he said the least. Like there were barely any words, and I remember, I mean, I practiced with him for so many years, and I would sit on his feet, and I would be crying, and I was like telling him about all of my suffering that I'm going through, and he was like, "Yeah, yeah." Wonderful, wonderful. Just keep practicing. So they don't have this kind of attachment to these stories, to yeah, it's quite an egoistic thing actually to go into our trauma and what I have been through, and they see it more as part of the whole and whatever we can transcend to become more aligned, to become more of our divine essence, right?
Mm. Ooh, yeah, that's interesting. Absolutely. So it's kind of like more of this energy practice instead of a verbal psychological practice of like really being able to clear. And the ultimate goal, I think, obviously is for us, like you say, to reach this other level of ascending a point. Because I know your story also, you spoke of how you engaged, how you had kind of this illness and went also on a path of healing through these other modalities. Do you want to touch a little bit on that and like what that was for you or?
Yeah, I mean, I've quite had it all. I had a breast tumor removed from my breast when I was 21. I
Mm.
had another cancer diagnosis at around 23. I've had endometriosis. I've had like all the things that Western medicine would say is not curable. And I went through all of that by myself and well, except for the tumor removal. But at some point when Western doctors wanted to take out my utero, I was like, no. I
Oh.
was like, this is not happening. And I had no idea what I was doing, but I just went back to India and I went on this journey and I went on this pilgrimage. And eventually I found a Ayurvedic doctor who had his own garden with all his herbs growing there and like the most magnificent place. And he had a maze there with
Mm.
a really, really beautiful ancient tree in the center.
Mm.
And when I asked him what this was about, he said, people come here to cure their cancer. And I was like, wow, okay, that's why I'm here. So
Wow.
I
Goosebumps the
came
whole
back.
time.
I came back the next day and I walked the maze. And it was a procedure of around 3, 4 hours walking. It was not a big area, but it was just like this conscious walk and very slow through this little, yeah, this maze until the center point with the tree. And I could feel how at some points I could walk very easily. At some points there was resistance and it was really hard. And it was such a deep practice. And so I meditated a bit in the center and came back out again. And the theory is that we are going through our life's path, and we are clearing the blockage whichever has caused this illness. And I really felt that. And I walked back out. So I reversed all of that again. And he said, fine. And now 3 months later, you go and do a check with the doctor, and it was gone. And nobody knew how, and nobody could explain, of course. So I just followed my intuition, and I always went like that with healing my endometriosis again, with the information of someone who has channeled it, right? I was always like, no, there must be other ways. I'm so sure inside.
Oh my God, that's so beautiful. That resonates so much. And that's another purpose with this conversations is to activate our self-healing abilities. Like I say so often how powerful we really are, and these discussions need to be more mainstreamed in a sense to understand, like, Joe Dispenza is doing such an amazing job at guiding us through these modalities, these meditations, because it's
Totally.
really miraculous. And
Mm.
that is amazing. So from that perspective, though, and there was again, I'm asking, not like a diving deep into the trauma work. Was it just like, did you have to understand the why in this process, or this was just energy?
Not at all, just energy.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is so fascinating. And I mean, now I'm just feeling like to ask, like, do you believe, I'm sure like in the past lives, right? And like the soul journey, or is that also part of the Indian philosophy as well, that this is potentially what we carry with our soul, right?
Totally. Totally.
Totally, right? And I mean, so this process of energy work, which I know through all of your experience is a topic that I love to really kind of get confirmation through these conversations, because you work with this market, these people, and there's a lot of us out there, right? Can you tell me a little bit about this network of people that you're working with and what type of work they're doing?
Yeah. So I was teaching energy work for the past 4 years. And at some point last year, I felt I need a change. I want to do something differently. And I've been teaching a lot of people. So it's been like hundreds of people that I've been in touch with that were actually in this healing field. Somehow maybe they've just started out with me, but most of them already did like a lot of certifications and worked, of course, hard on themselves, right? And going through these ego deaths again and again and again, and have been through such miraculous journeys. And yeah, and at some point I realized, wow, we just gotta join forces. We just gotta go big now. Time's right. I mean, shit's on fire, right? We
Yeah, it's
just
time to come
gotta,
out of the caves. It's time to really like, I know I do such a meditation of like taking the last wires off my chest, like, like it
yeah,
needs to explode.
yeah, love it.
Yeah, but like the work, the energy work you do, because I'll maybe even try and put a video in there if you can of the Kundalini awakening and like how
Yeah.
you activate this. Can you explain a little bit what that is for someone that's like, dude, that looks wild, but what is happening there as an
Yeah,
energetic?
wow. I mean, hard to put it into just a few words, but we all carry a life force. We are life force energy, and we carry a source of that within our bodies at the source of our spine. And we can really reconnect to that part of ourselves when we are taking off some of the layers of control, of resistance, of fears, whatever provides contraction in our body. And we are actually always able to step into this source of divine energy.
Mhm.
So in these sessions, facilitators like I did are reconnecting people to that. And yeah, that's quite an interesting process, and it can actually bring up a lot. It
Mhm.
can bring up a lot of that trauma, of that past life karma, and so on. So it's really an emotional process. Oftentimes, it's a physical process, but in the end, we are becoming more of ourselves again.
Right.
And that is being expressed physically through the body as it's unwinding, as it's like clearing out those blockages, these knots that the spine is carrying really, and as the nervous system is really recalibrating. And apart from the nervous system, of course, we have an energetic body and we have these energetic lines going through our body. But yeah, I don't want to go too deep into that. But yeah, it's
I
really
love it. Go deep, but right,
yeah,
right, right. So I think it's also the willingness and the every individual is obviously different, how willing they're willing to open up and to release that, right? And I know in your personal journey, you also had the Kundalini syndrome, is that called? That you had like this experience during a Vipassana. And can you explain a little bit about what this experience was?
yeah. So I've been practicing yoga for a while already. I've been hearing about, of course, chakras, Kundalini all the time in India, but I didn't really get to connect so deeply with it until I was at a Vipassana retreat where people are sitting and meditating for 10 days, 11 hours a day.
Mm.
It was really challenging for me at that time. I was really doing it through my ego force of discipline of I want to do that. But for me, sitting still was always a bit yeah, challenging.
Mm.
And at that point, I understood then why, because it really, at some point, force of energy was pushing through my spine like a lightning bolt.
Mm.
And it really knocked me out. It was a moment of bliss, but also knocking me out, kind of.
Mm.
And yeah, after that, I had the most challenging time of my life
Mm.
of not being able to sleep for weeks and months
Oh,
and not knowing where to put all this energy. And this was not just like a blissful energy anymore. Like there was a lot of shit coming up.
oh,
And yeah, of course, I was back in Austria then, and I went to doctors back in India. I went through all kinds of therapists that were like from all the fields you can imagine. I went on another journey to find people who could help me. Nobody could help me. So I had to find out about it myself. I had to dig deeper and deeper, and I have had collected a few of these certifications of training. So I had a really good understanding actually.
yeah.
But this was so extreme that I just was blank too. But of course, through the months and years, I understood more and more and understood how I could actually get myself through this process. And this was then what I was doing with people. As I started talking about that on social media, people came to me and were like, hey, I experienced something similar. And I understood there was a real need for guidance in that area. And just so many people who have experienced these strong awakenings and have nobody to talk to about it because whom to talk to. I was going to my doctor in Austria and he said, "Well, just go to the therapist." And I was like,
Right. I mean, what were the symptoms were physical and also like was it emotional too? Like, I mean, I wonder for somebody that maybe doesn't know this is what's happening. I mean, like for me, I feel like I had an awakening where I got insight into all of this information of my trauma. Like this is when I was in Thailand. Like, I don't know, is that considered like I woke something in me that then like I had visions of stuff like, wow, that's the why. And then yeah, like very depressing energy, like yeah, is that what it is? It's kind of like going down the freaking, oh God, to the darkest, darkest corners of your psyche, right?
Totally. Totally.
Oh God, I had it too. No, dude, mine lasted like 10 years, I feel. It's worse than when I moved here, but it was so intense, right? And I couldn't move actually. I had to go to the hospital here. I'm like, something is wrong with my back. I was like, ugh, that's what it was.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah,
Yeah.
so yeah, and I mean that's a great like assistance, right? To I think like okay, and that leads to another question about healing to purpose, right? Because at that when I went through that journey, I recognized I have a purpose. Because I understood that what was happening and it was like I detached from everything else, like who I was. So I think is that like what a lot of us are experiencing and getting into these other realms of existence, and then you want to share it, right?
Yeah, totally. It's an initiation. It's the toughest one, but
It's so tough. Oh my God, dude. That would be another conversation to
yeah.
gather like everybody's like initiations. Like, damn, I thought like so crazy, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, totally.
Wow, wow. So that was your journey, right? So that's what it was. And that's, yeah, and I feel like that's another thing. Like a lot of people that work in this field, they went through this, right? And now they want to share these gifts. And right, would you say kind of it's so beautiful, the storyline, like the call to go to India without knowing, and then that whole experience. And are you different than you were before you went to India, would you
Well,
say?
a little bit.
This- You're on this side. Yeah, wow, wow. Amazing, amazing. And so your energy work, and now what I love is this. I love your new program, the Into Purpose, because I talk a lot about soul purpose on this podcast, actually, that we all have. I mean, would you say that individually we have a soul purpose, or what is your definition of purpose?
Yeah, right. Well, hard to say if we have a soul's purpose or if our soul's mission is purely just to evolve. But I do definitely believe we have a purpose within this lifetime, which in every lifetime. And yeah, so I work with people now that many have gone through these awakenings. Actually, all of them have in a way or another. Just one has it a bit more extreme, like us, and the other one has it on continuous journey.
Mhm.
But yeah, people are here for something. That's what I'm sure of. And we have been born into this time and age to do something, to get something out there into the world and to perpetuate the healing of this world and the evolution of the consciousness. So yeah, when I work with clients now, as I'm doing, bringing healers onto their path more deeply, guiding them into a better business strategy and more impact through that, I go back into the depths of their being in the beginning of when I work with them, and I really go to the core, and I want to see, okay, what is your story? What exactly is the core of why you are being here? And we are building from that. Because many healers have like exactly these all these certificates, they have so many interests, they are very confused by all that they know. And I say people are not here to hide behind a technique or a method. We are
Mhm.
here because we want to bring our essence into the world, and this is what the world is asking from us as well.
Mhm.
We are being found by our resonance. And maybe you've experienced that too. It's like when you are ready for the next step, the right healer will appear, right?
Mhm.
Or the next right coach or the right whomever it is. And they
Right.
will appear as soon as you are ready because then you are tapped into this frequency, into this resonance. And the
Right.
best healers in the world, I always say they are only found by resonance. They don't have Instagram, they don't have a website. Like you just get to them through recommendations, through stumbling upon something. And yeah, I really believe that we can perpetuate this kind of energy within us as we are reconnecting to it.
That's beautiful. And yeah, I mean, the journey of a healer is also can be really challenging at times because And I think this is where your work and your expertise comes in, because of all of these. Although you've done all the work, there's still these blocks of showing up or of like being seen as a healer. I've come into this place in Austria where through these conversations, I feel like I already kind of get a little judgment about like, energy work and stuff. And so then it's kind of like, no, I think I'll go back to my little shadow. Although from past lives that like this is like the time to do it, to like come out. And so working with blocks of resonance, because would you say if a healer has tried to go out and then there is no resonance, is there a block there? Or is it not the time? Or is there like something that needs to be tuned to really like reach the masses? I feel like a lot of us we get really excited and it's like put it out there, like let me offer, and then the offers are not being received, or is that due to a block or lack of alignment? What would you say?
Yeah, I mean, it's so complex, right?
Yeah.
Our energy bodies are like so complex. I do generally believe in alignment and in resonance, yes. And what I can say is that most of us are still carrying what we call witch wounds.
Mm,
So many of us have been on this path not only in this lifetime, but also in earlier ones.
yeah.
And the witch wound is really something that sits deep within our karmic body, within our consciousness, even in our physical bodies still. And it's about being a healer at some point in some lifetime and being persecuted for that, being shamed for that, being even tortured for that, because we have brought healing into broken systems. And of course, these systems were oftentimes not very happy about it,
Right.
right? So whenever we have brought some light into patterns of suppression or of wrong power structures, then we might have been really put down in a way, and we still carry that within us. So there is oftentimes a very strong fear of visibility within healers
Yeah.
and fears of judgment,
Mm,
something that many other people oftentimes don't carry. I just see it in everyone that I work with.
absolutely. Absolutely. Those are common threads too. Fear of showing your full self potential, like the beauty, the full beauty. So yeah, so and your structure is to guide these people to success. What do you think are the energetics of success, actually?
Ha. What are the energetics of success? Well, I mean, I think success is very individually defined, first of all, right?
Hmm.
For one person, success is being a mother and staying at home in the household. For the other person, it is going out into the world and having a huge following on Instagram, whatever, right? But I think success is really comes down to what we desire and if we're actually able to achieve it. So
Mm.
if there is a desire and we cannot go there, then yes, there is some kind of misalignment, I would say.
I love that. I don't think I've ever actually asked myself that question about success. I think we need clarity on what is success for ourselves. Like maybe success has not been defined. And if, like you say, like saying, yeah, I want to go for it. Like, yeah, I want to be big and bright. Like, then it's about defining that. So I think that that's beautiful that you're providing so many people in this space now to level up in a sense through the energies work behind it, right? I mean, so you
Yeah.
want to talk a little bit about your program,
Yeah,
your
so
purpose? That sounds amazing. I might do
I'd love to.
it.
So what I've come to understand, it's because many business coaches are saying like, no, it's just your strategy. Then there are other people who are saying, no, it's just your misalignment. And I definitely believe it's both. So I
Mm,
see it like the masculine and the feminine within us.
mm,
So we have to have this flow, we have to have this vision, and we have to be sure about it, and we may have to make sure that the energy is going that direction. But at
mm,
the same time, we have to put in some work, and we have to build the structures, and
mm,
we have to build the strategy, which is more of the masculine part. so that the feminine can flow within that frame, right?
Mm.
And so I've created a program that is actually doing both. I've had some time in advertising. I've been a strategist in advertising and been working with some marketing, and I understood, okay, I actually learned a lot from that. And this is why I'm maybe having more success than others. And I should really teach those people more about that as well. Plus, I'm doing the energy work. So week by week, as we're going through my program, I'm clearing energy in different kinds of certain areas, very specific, like clearing fear of visibility out of the amygdala, and which is our fear response, which is telling our brain, oh no, this is dangerous, or clearing stuff from the karmic bodies, clearing stuff from our epigenetics, even.
Mm.
And there are so many ways where I can go in very precisely. And I've developed this structure now where I do that with each and every one who is going through my program. And it's been really miraculous, the shifts that can happen in only 6 weeks.
Wow, that sounds amazing. I love it. So it's a 6 week program or a 6 month? 6 weeks?
6 weeks.
Oh, it's six
6 weeks.
weeks. Oh, that is
Yeah,
wow. That sounds amazing. And I do feel, I mean, personally, like, you know, there is such a thing as the right timing for things to go, like it's all part of the journey. Like as your story, something drove you to get to that, to get to India without knowing. And so, as healers, it's our journey, it's our life, like actually what we're then putting out there. So I feel like I'm getting a motivated energy to like because long story, but like just like not giving up, I would say. I think because there's always like more guidance, and it's really like you say, it's about us shining now. The world is calling for that. So that's awesome that is what you're doing, and that's what you're inspiring, and so beautiful to hear. And I'm happy to just be able to have shared your story and the journey. And I feel like it's so much about intuition. Like I talk about that all the time, how we can activate it. And you are just like the example of one step in front of the other, and then having like the heart, right, to give back and to give back and help others to reach success, right?
totally. Totally. I'm just so happy if I see others shining their light in the world. It just fulfills me so much. So yeah, whoever feels called to, like, people feel called, they come by this intuition. They're like, ah, there is something there for me. And
Yes,
yeah,
that's
super
amazing.
happy to have people reach out if anything resonates.
Absolutely. And so when is the next program, or did it start already?
No, not yet.
Oh, okay.
We have the next one coming up in July.
Oh,
July and
okay.
August. Yeah.
July and August. Okay, so we'll put some information there for anybody
Yeah.
that's ready to take the leap. I am definitely interested. That sounds so awesome. Anna, so thank you so much for being here and sharing your journey. I very much appreciate it.
Thank you so much. I love this conversation. It's been amazing. Thank you
That's
for
awesome.
providing this.
Absolutely. All right, guys. So stay tuned and I'll be putting all her information here. I hope you've enjoyed it and got some insights. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you. So